So, welcome to episode 9 of Spill the SpiritualiTEA. I'm really excited. We've got another man.
Hey.
Haven't had many men in. It's Luke and now you. So
I'm number 2.
Number 2 man. Yeah, but episode 9.
What an honour.
So, lucky to have Brad Fennell in here today. Longtime friend, and I feel like mentor and treat my body, looked after me through all my pregnancies. So, yes, but let me tell you a little bit about Brad first before we dive into our convo. So for over 25 years, Brad Fennell has been dedicated to transforming individuals' lives. Initially trained as an acupuncturist, as I know you, and through family, he later expanded his expertise through studies in process work, counselling, and Eastern philosophies. Today, Brad works online with both individuals and couples, helping them explore and navigate their inner dreams and personal growth. I love that.
Wow.
And I think I love it because, like, obviously I've kind of walked beside you growing and you've walked beside me growing and all of our lives and kids, and it's so interesting to come back, and we come back at different times.
Yes.
And have these just random conversations, and now you're on my podcast.
Yes. And that's what I think we're here to really do, is to grow. There's nothing worse than when someone says, I'm exactly the person I was when I was 18.
That's actually a scary thought.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully God. I think that's a huge thing, not only personally, but in relationship. And I can't imagine not growing.
Yeah.
I can't imagine even doing the same thing or I feel like I've had evolved into so many versions of myself, and sometimes it can be a week or it could be but the big versions of myself, I'm like, I don't even know who that person was.
Yeah.
And how was I actually doing all those things and allowing myself to stay in those situations, and the perspective that I had at that time of my life then and what would impact me then does not even have this, it just like, it's like, brushes me by kind of thing. And so it's a really interesting concept, as you say, versions. It's like, something that would have impacted me so hugely just doesn't anymore.
Isn't it great getting older?
I know.
Like, we don't celebrate it enough. Something that would have got me, that would have taken me out, no longer has that effect on me.
So good, isn't it?
I'm like, I saw one of my mentors, Arnie Mindell, just passed at the beginning of the year. I think he was 84. And I was watching an interview with him, and they said, Arnie, how do you want people to remember you? And he said something like, Arnie, I wanted people to go, Arnie, we love you. But also to go, Arnie, we hate you. It's like, it's okay. It's all right. It's like, if I've filled a role that you need, it's okay. And it's like he was at a time, I think, in his life where he just took nothing personally. It didn't attach. It's when things hit us and we kind of attach to that. Yeah. You're not a good person. And you go, well, I try to be a good person. I'm trying to do this. But if you have no attachment to that, you don't take it personally.
We start playing roles for everybody else, don't you?
That's right.
And I think age does that too, because it's like, I've done that role. I don't want to play that role anymore for people. And I think there's a societal thing that we're stopping to play roles. There's a personal thing. There's an it plays out in everything. And I think that's obviously how we're wired from childhood. What generation we were brought up in. And I was having this conversation because, like, Gen X parents are very different. Yeah. And I think there's such a deep softness and connectedness that we want to have with our children.
Fully.
Because we didn't get that.
Fully.
But we're still hard ass.
Fully.
You still don't fuck with us. Like,
Fully.
It's Fully. Like there's a very grounded, I will be here. I've got your back. I will go in and fight for you. But then there's a respect that we have in this interaction that we're having as parents and children. It is a very different feeling, I think, Gen X parents to the next generation and the ones before us. Like, there's something about it. I was having that conversation with someone. I'm like, we're badass parents. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Badass humans, because we've kind of bridged the gap from this old generation to this new generation. We've had to kind of do the bridging work, I feel.
Fully.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what the next generation, our kids.
I can't wait for that.
I
Right?
know. How are they going to be as parents?
Yeah, that's why I want to be around for that.
Fully.
Like even though I parented older, I want to be around for that. I don't want to miss out on that.
Yeah.
Because I think for me, it's like, I want to see what evolves from you.
Yes.
Through the conscious work I've done, that we're experiencing as
Yes.
mother, son, and what evolves from that. You know, who are you going to be, and what relationships are you going to have, and what are my grandchildren going to impart in this world from the hard work that hopefully I broke some of the generational stuff. I want that to be I want to see that.
Yeah. That's really important, isn't it? Like breaking some of the generational stuff and actually passing on and seeing what are they going to do? How are they going to run with this? Look, where my boys are at the moment, I have absolutely no idea. Probably because of the age. Like, they're not parental figures yet. They're in a different phase and a different time in their life, and
But
good
you don't
for
want
them.
them to be yet.
No, I don't want them to be yet. No, I don't need to be a grandparent yet.
No.
At all. I'm enjoying a little...
But do you think our era kind of like, you know, took on way too much responsibility early? Like, I feel like there was a lot of responsibility because we were free range. We weren't really protected. It was, do you know what I mean? Like, there was a lot that we just had to figure shit out.
I was just talking about this, like, as an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
I was building a cubby house about a story up.
Yeah.
Look, and it wasn't a great cubby house. It was basically a platform with a couple of...
There's no health and safety
There's
going
no
on.
health and safety going on. But it was, like, my childhood, this generation was very, very much...
Yeah.
And, you know, I actually tried to balance that. I tried to make sure there was enough adventure, some risk, some danger.
I think there has to be.
There has to be. But I also I think I actually want to be involved with my kid's life.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that. So I jumped into that. And I would say sometimes I probably went too far in the sense of needing to pull back, which I'd realize, I'd become aware of that and go, actually, sometimes, you know, it's like, there's so much. You're going to play soccer and here's the field and this is where it's drawn and these are the rules, and that's great, kids being involved in that. Yeah. But kids also, I think, need to even as 8-year-olds go, there are no rules, let's work it out together. Like, how are we going to play this game? We're going to play chasings. Yeah. And where's it going to be safe, and what are the boundaries and all this sort of stuff. So I think that's really important too, that kids need to play, in a sense, to play safely, but without parental supervision.
Yeah,
all the time.
unsupervised in a way that you know they're still safe.
That's right.
Which I don't even think our parents knew we were.
We weren't safe.
We weren't
Let's face
safe.
it.
Let's face it. The shit that we used to, we wouldn't. I think back and I think we were never safe.
No.
I don't even think my mum used to know where I was. Just be home when the lights go off.
That's right. That's right.
Just be
Don't
home.
come in unless you're bleeding.
Yeah. What do you need? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was sort of like, if you were in their presence, it was sort of like, why are you here?
That's right.
You know, but now it's sort of like, I still like my boys to be bored. Because I don't want them occupied all the time. I want them to go out and figure out what we did, because we had no choice.
I'm going to tell you, I used to have a saying that the boys hated when they come in and say to me, they go, we're bored. I go, great. Boredom is the facilitator of creativity. I go, oh God, that one again. But it's like there's something in there where it's like, well, now you've got to find something new. You're sitting in boredom. Look in that moment, is there something in the experience that's trying to come out? I wouldn't say it to them in that way, but in a sense, that's what I was saying. Yeah. What's in the field? What's the experience that's trying to come forward? Yeah,
and if you're not bored, you can't be creative. You don't get creative, because if everything's consumed and someone's always facilitating something for you in the sense of, okay, well, then do this or this, or we've got screens on it, then there is no space to kind of feel uncomfortable or get creative or think outside the box. And, you know, we had to think outside of the box all of the time. And sometimes I look at...
Just to live, survive.
So we've been working out getting out of survival, where I think our kids don't know what it's like to survive. But then there's this... but I want you to be resilient, because you're going to get challenged. Yeah. I don't want you to have the challenges that I had to navigate, but I do want you to have challenge, because life comes with that. And if you don't have resilience, then you're going to expect someone to come and save you.
Yeah. And the last thing you want is your children to. I remember when our eldest was born, and I went, "Oh, I just want him to experience love." And I remember some loud music came on the radio. Oh, I've got to put soft music on because he's got to feel love and peace and
Love
everything.
that.
And that's a part of what I want all of them to feel. But also, if they haven't had some kind of challenges in their life, I don't know if you've really lived.
I
Unless
agree.
there's some kind of if you've never had an obstacle, God help you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need something to kind of tussle up
Yeah.
against
And
and
you
play
can't
with.
parent from that overcompensation place that from your childhood you don't want your kids to feel what you felt.
Yeah.
And I get it, you don't want to have them to have the same experience, but you can overparent
Fully.
in take away those challenges or those uncomfortable moments and be there for every single feeling they have, and then they're not really able to work through it because someone's always there. And then I think you get codependent on having someone
Fully.
pull you out of whatever situation is uncomfortable or
If the pendulum swings too far either way, too
100%.
far to the place of neglect,
Yeah.
that's a problem. But too far to the place where there's no kind of resilience building, then we've got a problem.
Yeah. And I kind of think that's probably where when I'm coaching a lot of people, they're like, oh, my kids are like, but they've overparented and given them everything because they've not wanted them to experience what they experienced. And I think then it gets hard
Yeah.
because there's an expectation from the kids.
Yes.
Oh, well, aren't you doing this anymore? And they're like, oh, no, well, you should be able to do it now. There's not a gradual kind of, like you said, when you said I had to pull back a little bit, I think you're always parenting and letting go a little bit every time.
Fully. I overcompensated for my father, who was a good man,
Yeah.
but it was like he wasn't there. He's working, so I'm going to be there and I'm going to be present and always there.
Yeah.
And so I went too far, and then picking up that and pulling back and readjusting and going, how do I work with this parenting thing? So it's
It is a readjustment, isn't it? Of not trying to overcompensate from like the parent. But it's like, I'm going to do so much better than my parents. But funnily enough, when you do that and go, I'm not going to do what my parents do, something comes under there and you're like, holy shit, it's turned out the same way. Or it might have, I might have done completely different, but expressed it but the pattern's still expressing itself.
And
the same
sometimes
way.
we've got to be careful that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. In a sense, I want to do it differently, but there could be some aspects of your own parenting that you pushed fully away and that you need to pick up a little bit more.
Yeah.
If you marginalize something too far and push it away, you're kind of missing that experience. Now, you don't want to generally do it the way your parents did it.
Yeah.
But there could be something in that. It's like you're throwing the whole lot out.
Yeah.
And sometimes I need to be a little bit more like my dad and focus on what I want.
Yeah.
And not just what my kids want, if I've
Because
gone
it
too
has
far the other
gone
way.
like you said, is that pendulum, whereas it's swinging, like ours we're definitely out of balance this way. And then I feel like it's gone that way and then finding the middle, because that really is, it's not everything. Do you know what I mean? And they really have their own path regardless. It's got, and we're there. However how perfect we try to make our parenting, they're always going to come back and go, hey, by the way, you didn't do this. And I'm like, and I've always said this, well, I'm open to that conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, oh, I didn't do
and
that.
hold
No, I
on.
had to do this, and this. So you don't understand how. It's like,
Here's the therapist.
Yeah,
Off
yeah.
you go.
yeah. But it's kind of like, I'm always open to the sheer fact that they come, Mum, I didn't feel like you handled that well, or you weren't there for me in that moment, or the way you were. At least we can have the conversation, and I'll take self-responsibility for that part. But I'll also share where I was.
Fully.
But I think I'm doing that as I'm parenting.
Can
too.
you say there's moments in my life where I sucked as a
Yeah.
parent, you know what I mean? But still love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Not go, I'm a shitty person. Like sometimes I blew it. I missed that.
Yeah.
And good for me.
Yeah. And I think the good thing is how I find that I parent, I'm just, when that happens, I'm honest in the moment now. There's no waiting 20 years to tell them, sorry, I was shitty, you know what I mean? And hide the fact that I don't have it all together, or, I just don't sometimes. And that's
Thank
okay.
goodness.
You know what I mean?
Here's to not having it together.
Yeah, and I don't want to because, like you said, in like, like they always say, the mess is your message. But I just think there's so much in the messiness and the fun and it's not contained in a
Fully.
certain way. And I think that we've judged parents or people that do even our work, we've put them somewhere above us, that then we look towards them, and if they fail us because they've put this image out, then we feel let down. Whereas it's like, I've always sort of seen everyone on my same level.
Fully.
I don't know why, or even as a kid, I just never thought that anyone, I just didn't think just because they were my parents, I knew more. I think some patterning definitely felt that. Some children, because I felt neglected or abandoned, or but in general, I've never kind of gone, oh, you're definitely, I think we all are walking the same path.
Fully.
Depends what maybe facade we've gone on at the moment, but if you can be really vulnerable underneath it all, we all are experiencing the same feeling.
Yeah. I love that you say that. You got that young as well.
Yeah.
I think I did put people on pedestals. I don't anymore.
Yeah, I was never with a girl with the, even rock stars on the.
Yeah.
I just think, oh, it's stupid. What would you do that for? I think it's cute, or but I never used to go, oh wow, you know.
Yeah.
I just never had that. I don't know why. Maybe I was a bit of a pessimist. No, I just think, oh well, that's good. I love what they did, and I could admire someone. But I was never kind of like googly eyes about stuff, or felt like I couldn't walk into a room and have a conversation with that person. I don't know if it was because, my mum and dad, my dad and my stepmom.
Fully.
We've always, like, I used to get sat in the middle. They used to, obviously, when you met them, they were vegans and they don't drink and all that kind of stuff. But when I was younger, well, they used to drink and smoke. And so, I was like sort of 10 and 11 and, I was involved in all those adult conversations while they're all having dinner parties, and we weren't put out, on another table, because it normally was my sister and I at my dad and stepmom's house that we would just, because we went dad's, well, we were there, so we were involved in the conversation. So we would have to speak to adults and have adult conversations at a very young age. And obviously, Daisy, she's pretty deep and was a huge mentor. So those conversations were always had. Really deep conversations from a really young age. So it's not weird to have deep conversations.
Getting that young is amazing as well. Like,
and to be challenged, because you don't always, like you were older than me, but sometimes I was like, oh, geez, you don't really know much, do you?
Yeah.
Like, as a young person going, they don't know everything.
Kind of the consensus rank, the masks were ripped away.
Yeah.
Young, where for most, I think a lot of people don't actually get that.
Yeah.
A lot of people have, this person knows more, is better. And, part of what I love when I'm working with someone is I really love the concept of the kind of Zen mind, beginner's mind. How do I sit as a beginner knowing nothing but intrigued and interested in the experience that's happening, so I can unfold that for you and explore that rather than me coming in as an expert.
Yeah. Well, you can't grow as an expert if you're always going to be the expert and you're always going to come from this knowledge and mind. You're not really listening, and you're not really open to what could transpire from, I'd be the person that would be talking to the weird person in the bar. My girlfriends go, where is Melissa? And I'd be sitting with some weird old dude in the corner having this really deep conversation. And they'd go, you right? I'm like, yes. Like, I was just drawn to weird people that I could have a good conversation. Otherwise it'd bore me. Like, what are we here for? Like,
you were having a relationship with your own weirdness.
Oh, 100%.
It's like, that's a part of all of us where, and I'm a big fan of looking at your early childhood experiences and these things. And I actually have a weird dream figure that stalks and follows me. So I am fully growing into my own weirdness.
Yeah.
But to meet all these strange people and go, they're the ones I want to talk to.
So interesting.
I don't want to talk to that boring dude. I want to talk to the crazy one.
Yeah. Because, there's sometimes I think we all have a level of crazy, and we all have a level of, unhinged, and this is all of it in us. Do you know what I mean? And when you don't fear any of it, because we're all of it, then you're not really judging any of those parts in anyone else either.
Yes.
So you can sit and have a conversation with the weirdest person.
And not judging it in yourself, so you can become more weird. That's part of my journey. Is the early part of my life is as a child, it was about wildness and bush and nature.
You're
And
still like that. What are you talking about?
yeah, I know. I can't help myself. I'm becoming more like that.
Yeah, going
It's
back
like,
to that.
we used to, as kids, we get our shirts off and our shoes off and we just run
Yeah.
through the bush. And that's coming for me more now, my
Yeah.
own wildness. Because, early on in my childhood, I have that. And then I start to get socialized and I learn how to behave
Yes,
and
I
how
was
to
gonna
be
say
a
learn
good
how to
boy.
behave.
Yeah, that's okay. Like sometimes it's good to know the rules so you understand them, so you know how to break them.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what this next phase is
Or not
about.
always abide by them if it doesn't feel right for you.
Yep.
It's not even breaking them. It's just knowing that doesn't feel right for me, that rule. So I'm not going to go with it.
Yes.
And I'm like, no, that doesn't even make sense with me. That's stupid. Why would you
Yes.
I'm not going to do that.
Yes.
My mum used to go, ooh. So because my mum was a rule follower, she was a good girl. And so for me not conforming in a way that I needed to make her comfortable, I would question it. She's like, do you have to question everything?
Yes, I do.
Yes,
and
I do.
Good for you. You were her teacher in that moment.
Yeah.
Like the teacher, in some ways, saying to Mum, yeah, I love the way you follow the rules, but you don't always have to. You can check into yourself. Really, we're here to find our own double, the part in us
Yep.
that's stalking us in the background.
Yep.
And have a relationship with that. And if there's too many edges that say you can't behave like that, you can't be that, then that creates problems and we don't have access to
Yep.
the diversity, the interesting parts of ourselves. We are a mystery.
Well, then you get contained
Get contained.
to fit in with society. And I think that's what I love with the boys. Like I get to kind of encourage those parts of themselves where I felt like it was disapproved. And it's sort of, and I even see myself sometimes wanting to disapprove of maybe choices or the way, and I'm like, yeah, but that's what he needs to do right now.
Yeah.
Let him find his path in this.
Yeah.
He knows he can come to you.
Yeah.
But if you take this experience away right now and judge it,
Yep.
then he's not even going to take the risk next time
Yeah.
when it comes around. And it might be the one that he needs to take. But he's lost faith and he doubts himself and then he stays safe.
Yeah. Who's to know what this moment is actually for? What this experience is for? There's this idea I like that we have a direction in our life that we're called to.
Yeah.
And that we are pulled back to that. It comes in our dreams and there's this experience. It's magnetic. And it's actually okay to go away from it. It's the Taoist idea about swimming
Yeah.
against the stream.
Yeah.
You actually may find there's times in life where you're not going against the stream, that you're swimming against the current. But eventually fatigue happens.
Yeah,
And
and
you
then
suddenly, you suddenly go, And probably when you're younger, you're stronger. And
Yeah.
there is a little bit of let's push against the current and
Yeah.
let's see where we can go and what
But
we
it's
can
like
do.
pushing boundaries, isn't it? And I'm watching my boys being teenagers wanting to push boundaries and push against me more than anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I said, parenting you is hard sometimes because you push against everything that I say.
Yeah.
I don't want to take that out of you, but sometimes we've got to meet in the middle.
Fully.
You know what I mean? I get it. It's going to be a great, way of who you are in the future. And I don't want to take that out of you and question everything and push against things. But there has to be somewhere we can work together.
That's right.
In this.
And you will at times be dreamt up into the boundary maker. Because, when a child turns 2 or 3 and they're like, that road looks great to play on. I want to go and kick the ball in the road. And you're like, well, no, I'm going to give you a boundary.
Yeah.
And say, actually, not yet, honey.
And that's keeping them safe when they don't know better. There's a difference between keeping them safe or taking them out of their own experience.
Fully.
It's a little kind of like...
Fully. It's a dance.
Yeah. And I think that's the fun part of teenage years too, which you've done and are doing again.
Just jumped in to, got a 13-year-old. So just starting those teenage years again and been through them twice already.
Because you've done 2 and then you're doing
And
1.
and the eldest 2 are out, so 22 and 20, so just out of the teenage years.
Yeah.
Though they still do regress at times to 6, 12
But I
and
think
15.
that's all part of it.
No, it is.
Isn't
It's great.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
great. Me too. I regress. Sometimes I need to be more 6.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes I need to be more 90.
Yeah.
It's
Because
like,
I think, you know, I was just saying this to Melissa that was here before, and it's like we get so serious too. And I love about you because you get in there with your boys and you're not serious all the time and you play. And, you know, you and your wife Tab have been away now for the last 3 months, and, you know, it's been a lot of play for you and exploration and letting go of having that life where you guys were really committed to parenting and the clinic and being acupuncturists, and then now having this big expansive freedom.
it's huge.
I love it.
It's
Just
like,
feels so good.
it's like,
I'm like, take me.
here's your freedom. What are you going to do with us? Oh my God, did I really want it? Yes, of
Yes.
course I did. But like, freedom has been part of my life myth that I've always been called to. You know, I as a 15-year-old, I got into rock climbing, and part of that, and got all in.
Yeah,
and
okay.
part of that
But
was
you're an all-in person, aren't you?
all
Your
in
personality
person.
is very
Yeah,
like
fully.
I'm all in.
Fully.
Yeah, you can feel that with you. It's
Fully.
like when I'm in, I'm all in.
Fully. And it was a fringe dwelling concept as well. It wasn't just the climbing.
Yeah.
It was, as a kid, I was always up trees. I was a climber.
Yeah.
But these were what they call the stone masters, the era of the rebels who were like saying we can live differently.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and so really picking that up. Now, do I want to live like a bum anymore? Not particularly. Now, as a 19-year-old, I did. I lived in a tent for 6 months. I went through America. I lived down in Spain.
But see, those experiences are experiences that shape you because
Fully.
you are immersed in the sort of unknown and different cultures. And I was very much like that. I just went. I couldn't wait to get out. I was out, 17 out. See you later.
Yeah.
You know, I left home early.
Yeah.
And couldn't wait. Like I just didn't want.
You felt that calling for a long time.
Yeah, I think too was probably I was with mum and probably the relationship with mum and my stepdad, we didn't get on as well. You know, there was a little bit of tension in the house. But I've always been someone that just didn't really follow the rules and was very independent and was always kind of like, what's out there? I can do it myself. Let me figure it out. And I really wanted to move around, and I did but I have really loved having kids and being in the one spot.
Fully.
Because I think I moved and it was so chaotic in the relationships and the movement and the constant being in different places that there was also maybe I was always growing and deepening, but I needed to be still in one spot to actually embody that, you know, and to really shift fully.
I love that. To be still, to really feel your movement.
Yeah.
It looks paradoxical, but it's how you, one of the exercises people can do is you can get really, really, really still and then notice the movement that is actually, when you get really still, you can feel the movement inside of you. And I'm the same, like I don't want to live in a tent as a bum anymore, but there's a part of me that is living that more. There's a wild nature that I was called to that says, how do you really pick up your nature, connect to nature, and how do you bring that forth in your life? That's the work. That's the really interesting work.
Well, it's like you said that, you know, that pendulum thing, you went right out that way in that pendulum, you know, in the tents and I did that very early in my spirituality. Like I studied rebirthing at 23. You know, from a really young age, I was doing weird shit that back in that it was like, you were in the spiritual closet, you hid that shit. Like, you know, when I was studying breathwork, we were rolling ourselves up in like mattresses and creating the birth trauma and really sort of going to edges. But I just didn't have the ability to integrate any of that at the young age that I was. But I was ready to teach and share it. But it was so weird back then. You just didn't talk about it. It was kind of like, now it's so freely open and everyone's doing some sort of form. Yeah. But back then, how I felt being 23 was like no one would take me seriously.
Yeah.
But I knew it deeply.
Yeah.
But then I think all the wisdom that I've got through my experience, and we was talking about this with Beckett before, coming into this elder years, like this whole transformation of now that all of those experiences and the hard times and then moving like from that way to this way to finding this balance.
Yeah.
And I think it's much more peaceful.
Fully. And I think there's a part of us you know, there's the 50-something-year-old now that can actually hold the 23-year-old. The
Yes.
23-year-old stands there without any rank. I'm young.
Yeah.
Here I am. The whole world's telling me I'm weird and strange. And then you enter the 50s and it's like,
Totally
yeah,
accepted in it.
that's right.
But
The
it's like
world
I
sort of
needed
says,
I need to experience that aspect of myself in that experience to know it really well, for it to be there in my psyche and knowingness that it'll come back. Like you said, my wildness is coming back from that version of myself that I sparked. And you might have not fully you had that experience and then it sort of closed down, but now it's opening up again. And that's what I feel like we have these,
Fully.
parts, and then all of a sudden, that's why I did that. Oh, I can bring that back in here, and it's like collecting all of these wisdom, all the wisdom from the experiences with a completely different awareness.
Isn't it funny? I think that's what I was talking earlier about, that direction. It's like, you know, now you can look back on your life, you can look down on it
Yeah.
and go, oh,
That's
okay,
why.
that's why that direction and that. And I think, you know, your 90-year-old self
I know.
will see it and go, I get it. But sometimes when you're in it, you don't have that bird's eye view and you're not sure.
And I think that's a good perspective, is
It's
to keep
great.
bird's eye viewing everything.
Yeah.
As even like as we talked about before with Melissa, it was like that soul perspective of
Yeah.
why I'm, that pull you were talking about, that getting pulled all the time, that calling. But sometimes it takes different directions, and like, well, why was I a rock climber here and an acupuncturist here, and why am I doing this here, and or why did that go wrong there, or I mean, even in your relationship with Tab, you guys have been together for such a long time,
Yeah.
and have a remarkable, but you would have had to reinvent your relationship so many times. You've
Yeah.
been together for so long.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
That's why we're together so strong. Because we've reinvented it and we've supported each other to reinvent.
And I love that about you too, because I see so many people that I couple counsel, in the sense, they
Yeah.
come together and they start this own, and they're like, they don't know who they are individually because they keep putting this relationship cup, but they're trying to stay the version of themselves that they were when they met. And you can't stay that version. You can't keep trying to get that back because you're completely different people.
Yeah. And why? What
Why
is
do you
it?
want it?
Why do you want that? When there's something even better that
Yeah.
you can grow into something more. And there's nothing better than when a partner supports your own growth, helps you over your own edges.
Were you guys always like that from when you met? Did you both have that kind of initial connection that growth was really important, or has this evolved with you guys? Because you've been together for so long. Was it in your awareness
I
then?
think it was more in Tab's awareness, but I was hungry and waiting for it.
Yeah.
So I fell in love with that part of her, which means I fell in love
Yeah,
with
I
that
like
part in myself. I saw her, as a 20-year-old, as this wise, powerful woman, which is really...
But that's pretty amazing for a 20-year-old to recognize that, especially at that age, to know, I feel that. And for you to recognize that as a man in a woman, because strong women can be very intimidating.
Yes.
And you knew she was going to unravel you many times.
Thank God.
Yes. But I mean, I find that with me, and I had this conversation before, it's like that unraveling for a lot of men is seen as like, I got to run from that. That's too much. It's like they don't come to meet it and open to it. And like I see you lean into it. And let this unravel me. Let me who this is. It's not like, oh, it's Tab's fault. Why is she doing this to me? You know what I mean? And sort of push that wise woman away, and the woman that can hold that space for you to be the greatest mirror.
Yeah.
To keep growing with her. And I think that's maybe where we stop growing in relationships, is where that person becomes the reason why you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. I fell in love with that part in her. And at some point I knew I have to pick that up inside myself. I have to grow that inside myself, and we have to dance together. And there were times where, like, you're growing, rather than going, I don't want you to grow.
Yeah.
There's something in us that also said, I want to grow with you. And and she saw something in me. We both met at Uluru. We were out there working.
Were you? Is that where you met?
That's where we met.
Ah.
She just got back from America.
Yeah.
I was trying to make enough cash so I could go off traveling. And she saw the crazy in me that I was growing into.
Yeah.
And I saw, that wisdom and who I was growing into.
Yeah.
And that I needed to grow into. So I think that is something that has really kept our relationship fresh and alive, is we've both wanted to grow individually and as a couple.
And that is really what it is. I think when people come together going, right, we're together and you're going to fulfill me.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then it stops growing.
Oh.
And if you make me feel uncomfortable, it's your fault. Well, you know what I mean? And I feel that's where we get stuck.
It is one of the greatest dangers. The whole idea, I think it's from that movie line, "You complete me."
Oh, yes, God, isn't that that's a Hollywood setup, isn't it?
It's a disaster.
Because all these women are like, oh, fairy tale, please complete me.
Completely.
It's a beautiful concept, but
well, here's the
so
thing.
damaging.
Is the thing that completes you about them is the thing that you need to pick up for yourself.
Yeah.
And why is the thing that you fall in love with the thing that eventually drives you crazy about them?
Yeah.
Because you haven't picked it up for you. It's yours.
Oh, I like that, yeah.
Like it's the first thing whenever I'm working with, one of the things, do many things, but if I'm working with a couple, it's like, what was it you fell in love with? Because we know who you're growing into. What was the thing that cracked open? And for everyone, it's different.
Well, it takes it back to self then, doesn't it? It takes it back to self-responsibility that you loved it, so why are you trying to suppress it now? Because you haven't stepped into it in your own self.
Yes.
So you're trying to reject it in them to then make yourself feel comfortable and safe.
Yes.
Which then it creates separation, not growth.
That's right.
Yeah.
She was so funny and she made me laugh and there's a sense of joy. But now we don't laugh at all. There's a sense of, okay, pick up your own joy, your own sense of humor, your own lack of anything serious. And then when you pick that up for yourself, bring that back to the relationship and see what happens, how it changes it. Because you're having a dance with your own self.
Yeah, that's
that
so
part of
interesting,
you.
isn't it? I love that. And I think that is what it is. We are on our own individual journeys. And I've had a lot of couples say to me, yeah, but how can you be on an individual journey if you're supposed to be together? I'm like, but if you're not fulfilling yourself and really growing within inside yourself and you're outsourcing it from the person, then you're literally draining that person to fulfill your needs. You need to know what you need. You need to know where your wounds are. You need to understand yourself and how you're relating, and to be able to clearly express that. So it's not an expectation from someone else, but just a sharing of what is going on here, that, I'm open. I need you to see where I'm at. I don't need you to fix me, but I need you to understand.
That's right. I'm not happy. Make me laugh. You always used to make me laugh, so why don't you make me laugh anymore? You have to make me be funny.
Yes.
And it's like,
what, are we performing for each other?
Exactly. And it's this... You're right. It's suddenly, rather than giving back to the relationship and energizing it, you're taking from it. Now you have the blessing of an early relationship where you fall in love with this part of yourself. But the honeymoon ends when you just keep taking and taking and taking from that, and you don't keep replenishing it.
Yeah, because I suppose, like you said, it's that honeymoon, and you fall in, because you do, when you fall in love, it's like opening up all of this within inside yourself that you're starting to receive and give, and then you're feeling it with someone else. But it's not really the other person. It's just this beautiful mirror of energy that you're opening to.
That's right.
So what shuts us down are the parts of ourselves that aren't willing to receive and the darker parts, or haven't experienced and it feels uncomfortable. We have to keep moving into new, now safe places in ourselves to open to that.
Fully. Opening to like the deepest sense of love. Like you're the sun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then someone throws something at the sun, you're like, I'm love.
Yeah.
The sun doesn't go, no. Now, that doesn't always mean, if someone's abusive or something like that you just shut that down in yourself. That's that's a different thing. It's like...
You can't abandon yourself for someone's... And I see that in an abusive relationship. And I've been in abusive because I understood their pain and their trauma. And then I felt responsible because I knew why they were acting out. But it still wasn't okay they were treating me the way they were.
That's right.
And it's not, that was my self-worth
Yep.
for not calling, I get it, I understand what you're doing, but it's not okay to hurt me.
That's right.
It's not okay to project it onto me.
In this moment, I love you, but you suck.
Yeah.
Meaning, I can take both sides. So in that moment where like, I understand you, I get why you're behaving like this, I get your side, I get it. But equally, yeah, I get that. But equally, I need to get my own side as well.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but when you say that, it hurts. It's really painful. And I want to stand over here as well and just really feel that. And you need to know that also. I
Yeah.
don't have to always protect you.
Yeah. I love that. It's funny because I say that to the boys. I'll always love you, but I may not love your behavior.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, so know that as much as I will maybe be annoyed at your behavior or something that you've done in the moment, but I will never take love away from you.
No.
And I think maybe even in relationship, we take love away when the other person hurts us and it damages the relationship. It's hard to repair when, and I find a lot of people tend to go to dirty fighting, pulling out everything. Where can we grab something from the back to make that person feel hurt? And I'm like, why would you want to hurt someone you love?
Yeah. I would say
But
to that,
hurt people.
that is a really, really important thing to say. Let's all take a little more care of each other.
That's, yeah.
Even in a
And why would you
fight.
want to hurt the person you love the most?
Yeah.
Why would you want to hurt
Yeah.
the person? Maybe they're bringing up hurt within you, but that's your hurt.
That's right.
You can't make the person feel your pain for
That's
you.
right.
It's not their
That's
responsibility.
right. And you can say things that are really hurtful and are really hard to come back from sometimes. So also, taking care of each other
Yeah.
is really
And you guys
important.
obviously have done that for a very long time.
I think a deep, it sounds corny, but I think love is really important, to genuinely love and care. And you know what, in saying that, I generally have a love and care for everyone. Like,
Yeah.
it's my nature. It doesn't mean people don't piss me off or anything like
No,
that.
and I think some people misstrued that because it's like I can be loving and I can be giving.
Yeah.
You get me to a point where you fuck off.
Fuck off. There is a time. Fuck off is important too.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
like you're not seeing who I am. It's like there's a point of my giving and my love and light,
Fully.
and then it's fuck off.
Fully.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that.
I'm smiling because I'm also saying even like some couples sometimes need to learn how to fight a little better.
Yeah.
Not the ones that are standing there screaming at each other. It's like, whoa, let's just cool everything down for a moment, slow it down. But some couples sometimes are like, no, honey, you okay? And you know what I mean? Like,
no,
it's
yeah,
like there
I
is a
agree.
time and place to go, actually, I'm going to take my own side. And
I love you're saying this because there's so many, especially in relation. Oh, can you stop getting so overreactive? I'm like, but you're not seeing and listening to what I'm saying. I'm not being over emotional. I'm being very freaking clear, but
Yeah.
I'm starting to get really angry in the sense that you're not seeing, and now you're talking lower.
Yes.
Oh, so if you're talking lower and I'm talking higher, and so you're telling me that you're in a more calm state. No, that's just passive aggressive.
Yeah.
And at least I'm expressing the truth of what I'm feeling, which is my anger. Just because you're talking lower and being passive aggressive and thinking that it's calm, it's not going to not escalate the situation.
Yeah. Because over here, there's a part that's saying, you're still not hearing me. I don't give a rat's that you're calm. I
Yeah.
don't give a rat's that you feel like you're centered. You need to hear my voice. You
Yeah.
need to hear at the very least what I'm saying.
And being seen, even if it's not agreed with, but understood, is so important.
It's a really, really powerful technique that you can try not just in relationship, but taking the other side, even just momentarily, is really powerful.
Yeah.
Like, and not bullshitting it,
Yeah.
but like really sitting into that person and
What
understanding.
would they be feeling right now?
Yeah.
Why are they being like this?
Yeah.
Like, and
I get it. I'm annoying sometimes. I annoy myself
I understand.
sometimes. I really understand. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
holding that role where you like really get it. Yeah, when I drop my tone, it's true. It's like you
Yeah.
don't feel. Yeah, I get it. You don't feel. You want to hear. Okay, I need to hear you more. I get it.
yeah. I just find, it's interesting, but I think it can be very damaging if there's this projective way of being all the time that you want to put yourself on a different level than the other person when there's conflict. And I think there's no wanting to come to repair and connection. To me, it's like wanting to be right. And I think, do you want to be right or do you want to choose love?
Yes. That's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like show that I'm right.
Yeah.
Show that they're wrong.
Yeah.
And it's...
But why would you want to throw your like someone you love under the bus? It's like, you don't have to be wrong to be... It's like, why do we have to be right? We just need to find our middle.
Yeah.
We just need to find someone we can connect still.
Yeah.
Even though we might not agree, and that's really annoying. And what's my part in it? Go in. What's your part in it? Go in. And how can we find that middle where we can go, okay, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, okay, get, you know. And it's not always going to be, you know, love and light all the time. But there's allowed to have that conflict. I think conflict's healthy.
It is healthy. And it's just such a powerful moment when we all know that when we feel got.
Yeah.
You know, like when someone just gets you, it's like, oh, I've been got. Okay. And so being able to do that for somebody else is really powerful.
And we talked about this before we had this conversation, because I said, I want to talk about this because obviously I'm not in a relationship, but this is about being got and, you know, moving into perimenopause and menopause. And I know Tab and I had a conversation a few years ago when she had just started coming into perimenopause and everything that was moving through her. How has that impacted your relationship? Because I'm dealing with a lot of people, and I understand it, because the women are really navigating such chaos inside their bodies. And there's sort of this like, well, what's wrong with you kind of thing from the man point of view. Like, why aren't we doing the things that we used to? Why aren't we having sex this many times? And there's a lot of expectation on the woman to be what they were. But to me, this is the most ever-evolving change of this most potent woman that's going to come on the other side. And the chaos is real inside the body. Yeah. I mean, you would know, being a practitioner of acupuncture, the navigation of what is actually going on.
Perimenopause,
Holy God.
even more so sometimes than menopause. Menopause, things are starting to settle, but the perimenopause is...
Well, you're getting one signal from your brain to your body, and your body's not doing what it's telling you. And then it keeps telling you this. And so you're like, what is going on inside of me? Like... My period's 7 days late. My mind's telling me to have a period. Like my time. So there's all these messages that are creating such a nervous system dysregulation. You know, you feel more sensitive, and then your body's just doing weird stuff that you've not experienced before. And to not have someone. How did you navigate that from a man's point of view? Because I know so many men would be sitting here going, that's what my wife's doing, you know? Like, how did you navigate that with Tab? To stay close and connected and to understand each other through that time.
Connected to my own craziness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not marginalize the part in me that says, you're crazy and I've got it together.
Yes.
We're actually picking up and noticing, sometimes life is crazy and confusing, and I'm here for you. And, you know, in those moments as well, when there is a sense of crazy, that I don't get so taken out.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a role there, that's, you know, in some ways she's saying to me, you suck, that I can hold a place where I go, I love when you talk to me like that, honey. Talk to me more dirty. I love it. Keep it coming. But in a sense, we're making light of it, but it's
personally.
Not taking it so personally is so helpful, because then you can stay present with the other human being. Noticing, I feel sometimes crazy too.
Yeah.
Actually helps the other
one. So
one.
it's like having empathy and compassion. And I think that's a very hard space sometimes when men want to fix things and be logical. And it's like, there is nothing logical about what's going on in our body right now.
That's right.
So you can't fix it.
That's right.
And you can't make me be the person that I was.
That's right.
And I'm not going to handle things the same way I always have.
Yeah.
So how do we let this new version of me come through? Or how can you hold the ever evolving kind of moment to moment change that I'm experiencing all the time?
Part of it was I kind of knew that, yes, it's hormonal changes, everything that's going on physically. Yes, that's true. But also, this is a really powerful moment in life where things are burning away.
Yeah.
And I was also a cheerleader on the side going, let's burn this away, because I know what lies beyond this is better. And
do you think that's because you had knowledge through what you practice, or did you want to know what was on the other side as for a woman's journey? You know what I mean? Like, was it something that you innately knew, or is it because of your study and because obviously, doing acupuncture, there was a lot of alternate or, that sort of Eastern
Yep.
philosophy
Yep.
of what that evolves into for a woman? Do you think
Yep.
that impacted your knowledge or
That was
understanding?
part of it. Definitely. I understood that.
Yeah.
But also understanding kind of the spiritual journey
Yeah.
as well, and saying this keeps happening. This isn't like a one-off thing where women are talking. This happens. So there has to be something.
Yeah.
There's some kind of ceremonial aspect to this. And I'm interested in it. And
What's
I'm
that
all
rites of passage that you come back to? For a man, men have it as through coming into manhood. And I do even think that there is this transition like you're having from going into your midlife too.
fully.
We just have it just expresses itself differently through
Fully.
our body. But I really do believe that a man has a midlife, well, they say crisis, but I think it's an awakening. If we use it for a purpose and an understanding of where we're moving to, then it's not a crisis.
No.
It's this amazing awakening of like, where are all those parts of myself I need? Where's my freaking rock climbing guy? Where's this guy? Where do I want to pull these pieces in now that I'm moving to this part? And it's especially for a man, a more yin part of his life.
We marginalize all these parts, and then we get up to midlife and we can't anymore. The crisis, what is the essence? We put the word crisis on it, call it whatever you like, and there's this negative connotation.
Yeah.
Rather than what is the experience that is actually trying to happen? What is
emerge through you.
What is trying to emerge through
Yeah.
you? What is trying to come forward?
I really love that way of looking at midlife because I'm saying I work in that now. And it's like, I love what's emerging through me
Yeah.
because I've had so many constrictions and disapproval because society's wanted me to be a certain way till now. And now I'm moving out of, I don't give any fucks.
Yeah, yeah.
So and I think you do get to midlife. It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
I've pretty much done it all. Nothing's
Yeah.
going to really take me down. I'm still
Yeah.
here. So what's...
Yeah, and
you
I'll tell you
know?
what, the only thing that's going to take me down is if I keep doing what I've done.
Yes.
If I keep on, that's the thing. The midlife comes up and says, I just can't do it anymore. And of
So
course,
stop trying to do what you've always done because the version of you needs you to let go of that version to allow this to come through.
that's right.
And
That's
so it's
right.
kind of like, let it go and figure out new ways of being.
That's right. And women are going through this, perimenopause. But for men, acknowledging their own rites of passage is happening as well. And there's a part of them, yes, men have this tendency to want to fix things. And sometimes that's exactly right. It's like the water thing's not working. I'll fix it. Thank God. That's done.
Yeah, that's great. Good.
That's
That's one thing
great.
off my list when I go to bed. Hold on, how many things are on my
That's
list?
exactly right.
Yeah.
So that's a part of it. But so too is emotion and experience. And that's what we're dancing with and picking up. So, maybe some women at times need to just be more practical. And maybe some men, and maybe they don't.
Yeah.
And maybe some men need to be less practical and more connected to their emotions. And maybe sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
It's a dance in the moment of what's really
Yeah, it's
needed.
not one right way or the other. It's where am I probably needing to lean towards? If I'm very logical, how can I soften and open to more emotionality and find my vulnerability? So then I can understand it in her. And then if I'm super emotional, how can I find a little bit more logic? You know what I mean?
Fully.
When I'm, when he's presenting logic and I don't have to take it personally and emotionally, it's like, how do we dance between both of those things?
Yes.
It's weird because I'm such an emotional person, but I'm really logical.
Yeah.
I've got a really weird
Yeah.
for a girl. Like I don't know if it's like a Cancer with a Taurus and a Sag. There's something within me that I get logic, and there's part of a lot of what I've needed is to have logic to work with the hugeness of my emotionality and my spirituality and all that I perceived and felt. Having a little bit of logic without it. I used to be too logical that I would control.
Yep.
Which I realized I was actually controlling and avoiding what I needed to lean into, to let that feeling fully be felt and be seen and to evolve into I need. But now it's a great aspect of who I am, especially when I'm working with people because it's easy to express it. You know, if I was expressing everything from the emotion that I felt, then it loses its potency, because there's no logic in it, in the
Fully.
sense of like, people need to connect to the understanding of it as much as they need to do the feeling of it.
Fully.
And so that's been a really, like, in my own self, I've probably been a more masculine woman.
Yes.
I know that sounds really weird, because everyone's like, oh, you're so feminine. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm actually quite strong, and I'm very sort of masculine. I'm not wussy. Like, I was always been a boy's boy. Like,
Yep.
I hung out with the boys, and I
Yep.
was, you know, I was never been a real girly.
Yeah.
Even though I can be girly, and I like girly things, I'm not.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
so it's a really weird thing, because people go, oh, I just expect you to be a certain one way, and my femininity isn't this floaty fairy. It's not. It's
Thank
strong, and
goodness.
it's direct, and it's
Yeah.
like, you know, and I unravel people, and that's great, because that's what I do in my work. It's not necessarily comfortable in a relationship, but I love it for what I do in my work, and I appreciate that I have that in me.
I love that.
Yeah.
And sometimes the thing that we need is a meta communicator, meaning the role that can communicate the whole experience that's going on in that moment.
Yeah. The chaos.
It's the
how
chaos.
can I communicate the chaos that I'm experiencing?
Yeah, to be able to sit there, and also to be able to have the chaos as well.
Yeah.
To marginalize, mostly we marginalize one or the other, but actually bringing both in is
Yeah.
so important. Yin and yang.
Yeah.
Within all of us, there really is a masculine and feminine. Jung was in that.
Yeah.
The feminine within the man, the
And I
masculine
think
in the
that
woman.
we all have to balance that out. It's not like because you're a man, you know, because I think there is, and this is what I found with everyone working, we have to find that nurture, that softness, that vulnerability, that emotionality in ourselves, feminine. Then we also have to have a healthy masculine within ourselves, that we're not pushing ourselves through force, where it's a real lined action. We need action in everything we're doing,
Fully.
you know, and I think all of us that has to come from a connected place now.
Yeah.
Not something that's going to, you know, be in that toxic masculine way where I have to be right, you know what I mean? I'm driving the shit out of everything, and it has to be with force. And, you know, I think we've all been brought up in that.
That's a few steps to chronic fatigue. Eventually.
Oh, you know, I've done that. You know, I've done that.
Many of us have.
Yeah.
You know?
I've done all of those. And I think those have been those fatigues and the force and the overrunning the knowingness of myself. Because there was probably an avoidance maybe, or a suppressant that I needed to get more done, you know, because once I get there, then I can really embrace it. And then I'm like, there is no perfect time to really embody this softness of who you are.
And to also notice, there's a part of, I feel like what you're saying is there's a moment where you just go, I'm enough.
Yeah.
I've seen people that I've worked with who are reading and studying, and good for them. Like, that's important. But at some point you have to say, me.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yep.
Little old me is just perfect.
Yeah.
And a sense of dropping into self-love.
I think I got to let go of that when I had Zane.
Yeah.
And there was a moment that I was really vulnerable, and I had to rely on Glenn. And I just wanted to be a mum.
Yeah.
I'd strived my whole entire life. My dad really pushed me to be independent, be strong, you know. So I had all this wiring of having to be a very independent person and strong, because Dad felt really uncomfortable with my emotionality. It just, you know, the way that I expressed myself. And we even had this conversation. He goes, I really recognize this. We had this conversation just recently. And he goes, I always thought you were a bit much with the boys. Like, it was just too much. And, you know, the way you were parenting. And he goes, I have to take that back. He goes, I realize now why you've done. Now you're explaining it to me. I can really see how those boys have evolved. And when I speak to them, I can see what you've done and why you've done it. And I doubted why you were doing it, because in my perception of how you parented, obviously back, you know, it was just, you know, what are you doing all that for? You know, why are you being, you know, and, but for me, it was about creating a holistic way of parenting them and balance. And because there was none of that in my parenthood, you know, in my, childhood. So when he could say that to me and reflect and go, I have to say I was wrong.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel so touched by him as well.
But I used to have to fight against my dad. Well, we're good at fighting, Dad and I. And I used to have to fight. If you don't love me for who I am, this is my 17-year-old stuff, having fights with him, going, don't be in my life. You have to, I'm independent and I'm strong, and you've made me hyper independent probably, but you know what? I am emotional and I am sensitive and I
Yes.
feel everything and I'm big.
Yeah. Yes.
And my dad went, ooh.
Yes.
I think I mentioned it in a podcast before. He read this book, Fathers and Their Daughters, and he went, well, hold on, guys, he would have given it. I've just read this book, Fathers and Their Daughters, and that changed another conversation for Dad and I. So we've always constantly had this butting heads battle because I just wouldn't allow the way he wanted me to be okay because it wasn't who I was.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was constantly fighting against him to go, just accept me for God's sakes.
Yeah.
I know it makes you feel uncomfortable, but stop questioning everything and just love me for me. And I know he loves me,
I get it.
but the conditioning that he had and the not enoughness and everything that he had from his childhood was so ingrained that it's really only till now he's unraveling it as he's getting to that real yin end going,
Wow.
oh, wow, this is the end bit. I'm on the end game now.
It's good, isn't it? The aging process where you start to really wake up. You start to realize what's really important. Actually, letting my daughter, I know she knows that I love her, but really sharing that in a deep way.
Yeah.
That's what's going to really matter.
And that I see why you've made those choices.
Yeah.
And, as much as I've fought you on them because I wanted you to be a certain way, all of a sudden I recognize you.
Wow. How does that feel for you? When you
Amazing.
Get that? Yeah.
Because it's like I feel like I've fought, and it's not all the time with Dad, but there was we're very similar, but very different. So there was, and I've always been the one in my family that will bring the uncomfortable to the surface, and I want to talk about it. Everyone else doesn't want to.
Yeah. Under the rug, except the rug's
and
bulging.
so then it gets projected back on me that I'm the one that's erratic or haven't done it, because I'm probably the only one single in my family. If I had done the right way or the right thing, then my life would be different.
Only you'd behaved.
If only I had conformed and done what everyone else is doing, you wouldn't question everything and everything would be fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I would rather be where I am with the self-awareness and the peace that I have, knowing that I haven't left anything on the table.
That's right.
I haven't not seen every aspect of myself. I haven't not been to hell and back.
Yeah.
And I know you're the same. And
Fully.
I know you and Tab are exactly the
Fully.
same. I don't want to get to the end of my life and go, oh, shit, I didn't do all those things.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't played out how I wanted it to play out.
It's not over yet.
It's not over yet. And I still keep thinking the best is always going to keep evolving. And I'm excited for that. And there's a deep kind of moment that it's like, I am okay where I'm at.
Yeah. And it was so beautiful when you said you don't have to actually push anymore with your dad. You can sit back and celebrate and enjoy that.
And I think there's always part of us that wants our parents' approval.
Fully.
And I fought for that. And then I just, even your family, you want your family to love you. And they do, but there's always that edge of disapproval, this edge of
Fully.
and I'm like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
And as much as they're my family, there's also a lot of me that's let go of them being my family.
Yeah.
And I love them for where they're at.
Yeah.
But they're never really going to see me. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. I felt that with my dad.
Yeah.
We healed after his passing, probably about 3 years in.
Isn't grief amazing?
Grief's amazing. I have no animosity towards him.
I feel like that with
whatsoever
Mum, like you were saying, that evolvement.
Yeah.
My relationship didn't stop with Mum.
No, it doesn't.
And what I experienced after that came up, I saw what I had suppressed with Mum being alive that I probably never could have accessed if she was here. And it was real divine timing when she passed and what we went through. You would have that same journey with Dad.
There's a part of do the work while they're here, but there's also another part that there's some work I just don't know if I could have done. And he had his presence there really strong for about 3 years where he was actually growing. There's this experience and I came from a place of pushing because it's and it came out of his own fear. His fear of I'm scared for you. So nothing that I could do would be enough.
Yeah.
But I now understand that was actually...
And I think that you say that was my mum.
Yeah.
She feared a lot.
She feared.
And she was like, what are you doing now?
Yeah.
Why, Melissa, Melissa, why are you doing that?
Yeah. That's
But
not
she
going to end up well, and I'm
It's
worried
like,
for you, and your world's
yes.
going to fall apart. And
I'm like, how do you not know me? She used to look at me. I'm sure I was an alien. I was always an alien. And she's like, who are you? Why do you have to keep doing these things?
That's right, because I'm an alien, Mum. Yeah, and I've got this life
And
thing.
I love looking at my boys and thinking, I don't want you to do the shit that I've done. I don't want you to always listen to me. And,
That's right.
And when you do fall over and hurt yourself and you
That's
do
right.
what I say you shouldn't have done, and you come back to me and go, I get it,
I feel that really strongly with my kids. It's like, you have to do you.
Yeah.
I used to struggle with that a little bit because it was like, fight against the system, take it down. And I was like, oh my God, I am the system. God help us. This is really tricky. How do I deal with this?
Yeah, because if you're not doing it in your own self, in your own home, then you're actually feeding that energy anyway.
Fully.
So it's kind of like, holy shit,
Holy shit. That's
kind of like a good way to, holy shit, to wrap it up. It's like, holy shit.
Holy
like,
shit. Hold on.
Yeah.
Get the reins tight and just ride that fucker.
Yeah. But I love the fact that, watching you move into midlife, and it doesn't have to be this ending.
No.
I think that so many people regret so much. So it's never too late to start. And just because ours started earlier and we had this questioning and, wanting to understand more in life, people are awakening so fast now. What we had to do in such a long amount of time can happen like that for people now.
Fully. Trust your own life myth. Trust your own experience is what I'd say. And whatever's coming up now is exactly what needs to come out.
Yeah.
And the midlife is when the real work starts. I think the early stuff is prep, is important, is part of it. But it is the part where it's like, raise kids, have houses, be successful, do all that sort of stuff. Nothing wrong. Follow those parts of yourself. But you will come to a point in life where it's like, what am I really doing here?
Yeah. So I reckon ask the question early as you can.
Absolutely.
Keep asking the question.
Absolutely.
Don't just
Early, late, just keep asking. Maybe
Yeah.
90. What am I still doing here? I'm here. Must be here for a reason.
Yeah, what is that?
What is that? Ah.
But it's funny because I've had this old client and Jim came into my life a few years ago and he's quite unwell now. But he came in, he just randomly at Freedom Flight, when I was at Freedom Flight, what are you doing in there? I'm like, he rocked down his water, big grey-headed guy, big beard. And he's had a float and he's like, I said I was doing breath work. And he instantly is like, oh, and asked me, I'm like, I literally came out to change the aircon and I got 20 people in the room and he's asking me all these things. Yep, okay, well, I want to do that. I said, well, just talk to Ben and, and he's, no, I'll come in now. So he wheels his walker in and like from that moment on, he breathed every breath session I had. Then we coached together and then we created a relationship and then I started to support him and then I realized he was struggling with a lot of things. And, I looked at myself like, I don't want to get old and not have done all the things. And he was very wise, but there was still a lot of old school patterns. And, there was this defensive man that was trying to hide his pain. And now being in a really helpless space, it's very hard to trust. And you feel like there's a whole journey in that. And if you can't learn to surrender and let go as a process in your life, especially as a man, when you can't do all the things you've always done, but I think as anyone getting older, it can be really struggle.
You will be in your walker.
Yeah.
Pick up your walker before you're in your walker, meaning pick up. There's a part of him that is now vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like, notice your own vulnerability.
And you can't use the old strength he used to lean on, especially that old man, that generation.
Right.
And I can see that struggle because there's this real vulnerability within him that's scared as shit because he's protected it for so long and now he's lost all that ability to be that independent, man. And I mean, he's done well because he's pushed and it's been a real journey to observe him.
Yeah.
And a real honor because I do feel like he came into my life and I came into his life for a really deep purpose. And so it's interesting. And all of a sudden we've sort of moved away from each other. He's in hospital at the moment. So, but there's a real knowing that I'm always going to be there for him.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a very interest. But he's really showed me a lot, but also showed me how to accept that old version of the man that I know my dad had in him, and, you know, or your dad, you know, that sort of old masculine.
Yeah.
And I think that there's part of that dying, but you know what I mean? It's
Fully.
finished.
Yeah. He can't swim against the stream anymore.
No, and
he
I
can't hold on to that power. Look at me. It's like...
And I think all men are probably fighting against that. And then I think it's gone a little bit masculine for women. I think we're all finding that balance back.
Yeah. Finding ourselves.
Yeah.
Come back home to yourself.
Yeah.
It's a great place. And the thing is, it'll never be the same home that it was.
No. And that's okay.
There's a great book called Journey to Ixtlan. And it's about fighting and battling the ally to the ground, taking back your power.
Yeah.
And once you've done that, you can never actually go back home to the same place.
Ooh.
You're changed forever.
Yeah. And I think that is such a potent thing.
Huge.
Because there is a death and a birth and a death and a birth.
Yes, there is. Many.
I love we could talk forever.
I know.
It's such a good conversation. And I'm sure we'll have back, and I definitely want to have Tab on here. Because I need 3. We need to have a 3-way conversation.
Yeah. Need to dance.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Such an honour.
For your time. It's so
have.
nice to reconnect. Perfect timing after 3 months away. So thank you.
An honour. Thank you.
Thank you.